The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
Now, this story happened with me when I was a teenage boy. My father sent me to Eretz Yisrael. I used to go to camp every summer. And that year, in that summer, 1964, he said to me, you know, Agudas Yisrael, the World Organization, is having a knessia, a gathering, and many tzaddikim, admorim, Rosh Hashivas, Rabbanim, they're all going to be in Eretz Yisrael. I would like you to go. Now, I had never been on a plane, certainly not overseas, and he said, you go to Eretz Yisrael, go with your reel-to-reel tape recorder and record the speeches that these Gedolim will be giving, and then you can stay in Eretz Yisrael for a little while afterwards and go visit them, and you will grow from this experience. And certainly how right he was. And of course, I came there, and I thought that Eretz Yisrael was farmland. It was the first time I was in Eretz Yisrael. I didn't realize they have traffic, and they have buildings and apartment buildings and telephone booths, not too many in those days. But it was a modern country just like all other countries. And of course, there was the Knessia, and I heard speeches from Rabbi Yelapian and from Rabbi Baruch Taladano and Rav Moshe Feinstein, tremendous Gedolim, Rav Kreisworth. They were all there, and they were all speaking. Now, after the Knessia, which lasted a couple days, I began traveling around Eretz Yisrael, visiting various Gedolim. Now, in those days, nobody called to America. The calls were too expensive, and with the time difference, it wasn't easy. You had to go to a post office to make an appointment, to be able to make a phone call. So I wrote letters, and I got letters from my parents. And one day, my father writes me, and he says, you know, I heard that there's somebody who wakes up people for slichas. Is there any way that you could go? I know it's early in the morning, maybe 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and he goes to the streets of Yerushalayim and the old city, not in the old city, we didn't have the old city yet, but near the Mandelbaum Gate, in the Bukhari and Heiser it was called, and he wakes up people for slichas. Would you do me a favor? It would mean so much to me if I could get a recording of that. Now, I didn't even know if the guy still did it. I asked a lot of people. Some people said there used to be somebody who did it. Nobody knew for sure if he was still alive, if he was still doing it. I found out subsequently that it was a man by the name of Rabbi Krohn, and he was already an older person. And I took a friend of mine, and we went, it was 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and we went down to where the Mandelbaum Gate is. That was kind of the border between Eretz Yisrael and Jordan at the time. We certainly didn't have the old city of Yerushalayim at the time. And we were waiting to see if we could hear somebody that's waking up people for slichas. And then in the distance, we noticed that there was a short person. He was standing in front of a 2-story building, and he was calling out something. We tried to make it out. And then we heard him say, Shtei doi fasliches, Shtei doi fasliches, wake up for slichas. Well, you know, I know it was Elul, and he was waking people up for slichas, but that couldn't be what my father meant. I mean, there was nothing musical about it. There was nothing so special about it. Anybody could do that. Okay, he did it. But what was so special about that? Anyhow, we ran towards him, and of course the man was frightened because at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, he never saw anybody in the streets, and now he had 2 young teenagers are running towards the guy, and we were carrying like this chayfetz chashud, you know, this big tape recorder, reel to reel. He didn't know what in the world it was. And I said to him, don't worry, daigin it, we're Americans, you know, we're okay. I just want to ask you something. And I said to him, you know, I'm from America, I'm going back in 2 or 3 days, and my father said that there's somebody who wakes up people for slichas, and he sings a beautiful niggin. Do you know who that might be? And he looks me up and down and he says, Dos bin ich, that's me. I said, that's you? You're the one who sings that song? I certainly didn't hear him sing it before. I said, you know, this is a tape recorder. I don't know if you know what this means, but if you would sing it and I'm going to put on this tape recorder, my father would be able to listen to it when I come back to America. I said, could you please do it for me? He looked me up and down again to see if I was really authentic, and I guess he felt I was. And he said, okay. And he cleared his voice. And he sang the most beautiful thing I had ever heard in my life. And I would like to sing it to you. It is unforgettable. Imagine it's dark at night. There's nobody out in the streets. All the lights are shut. No house lights are on. Only the Mount Scopus Hotel on the other side of the Jordan that was lit up. And he goes like this. Yisrael am kodesh shtei toif la'avodas haboirei rotz katzvi v'gibor koari la'sois ritzoin avicha shebashamayim. Yisrael am kodesh shtei toif la'avodas haboirei. Then he turns to me. Okay? Oh, was that okay? Let me translate. Yisrael am Kodesh. Yisrael, the holy nation. Shtei toif la'avodas haboirei. Get up for your Creator, to serve your Creator. Rotz katzvi, that's the Mishnah Novos. Rotz katzvi, run like a deer. Gibor kari, be strong like a lion. Rotz katzvi, gibor kari, lasos ritzoin avicha shabashamayim, to do the will of your Father in heaven. Is that amazing? What a way to wake up for slichas. And I'm telling you, I recorded it, I brought it back to my father. Without exaggeration, he must have listened to it 100 times. He loved it. It was so beautiful, it was so authentic, it was so Eretz Yisrael, it was so slichas, it was so Elul. And that winter, 1965, was the first time Rab Shalom Shvadron came to America. And my father played it for him. I still remember at the dining room table, and my father said, Rab Shalom, I'd like to bring you back to Eretz Yisrael. And he played that recording, and tears came down Rab Shalom's eyes right here. This is Rab Shalom, the Maggid of Yerushalayim. He was in our home. I get the chills when I tell it to you. And he said, I remember as a little boy, that Yid would sing it, and 4 o'clock in the morning, I would hear it. And then, after he finished, I just rolled over my bed, I put my blanket over me, and I went back to sleep. But how geschmack that was. How special that was. And Rab Shalom cried from that memory. Yisrael am kodesh, teitoif la'avodas haboirei, rotz katzvi v'gibor kari, lasos ritzoin avicha shabashamayim. Let's all try to live by that credo, especially now in Elul, Seres Yemei Tshuva, when we say slichas. Let us reach the summit of Yom Kippur with tshuva, tefillah, and tzedakah.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org